Funny how retirement doesn't always deliver the serenity you imagine. You picture calm mornings, a steaming cup of coffee, maybe the newspaper or some gentle tunes in the background. A life where your biggest dilemma is whether to plant tulips or daffodils this season. But sometimes, even in a neighborhood with perfect lawns and cheerful welcome signs, chaos finds its way to your doorstep. That morning was one of those rare, picture-perfect mornings. Until it wasn't. I was sitting in my kitchen, savoring the quiet, coffee in hand, letting the news hum softly in the background. The sun had just peeked over the rooftops, birds were singing, and I was mentally planning which project I'd tinker with that afternoon. That's when the yelling started. I turned to the window, and to my astonishment, there was Patricia Henderson, our community's self-appointed HOA overlord, standing right in my driveway. In one hand, she held a massive ring of keys, the kind you'd expect a school janitor from the 1950s to carry. Muttering under her breath, she tried each key in the lock of my Honda Civic. Her eyes suddenly met mine through the window, narrowed and full of determination, and she raised the keyring like a badge of office. "I have full authority to move your vehicle," she bellowed. I just stared, blinking. None of the keys fit. With each failed attempt, her face deepened to the shade of a ripe tomato. And when my car refused to cooperate with her fantasy of power, she whipped out her phone and dialed 911. Right there, in broad daylight, she reported an illegally parked vehicle threatening neighborhood safety. That's when I calmly picked up my own phone and hit record. Something told me this morning was about to go sideways in ways she hadn't planned. See, 6 months ago, I'd moved into Maplewood Gardens. From the brochure, it looked like a dream. Manicured lawns, quiet streets, neighbors smiling as they walked their dogs. What the brochure didn't warn me about was the presence of Patricia Henderson. Patricia lived 3 houses down in a pristine colonial, her hedges trimmed with obsessive precision, like she'd measured them with dental floss. Her doormat read, "Bless this mess," though it seemed she didn't actually believe messes should exist. From day one, Patricia made her presence known. A note about my mailbox being the wrong shade of black. A week later, a complaint that my welcome mat was 2 inches too wide. And when I painted my front door navy, she appeared within hours, clipboard in hand, citing Section 12 of the HOA's appearance guidelines. Each time, I politely pointed out that I double-checked the rules and was fully compliant. But compliance didn't impress Patricia. Things escalated 3 weeks ago, all because of my car. Patricia suddenly declared that my Honda, parked squarely in my own driveway, jutted 3 inches past the acceptable boundary line and violated the neighborhood's aesthetic integrity, whatever that meant. I measured it myself twice, and I was well within the rules, but Patricia remained unconvinced. The passive-aggressive notes evolved into outright threats. One read, "Final warning, move vehicle or face HOA enforcement action." Another threatened a $500 fine. The most ridiculous was a fake ticket, printed on what looked like stolen printer paper, complete with bogus codes and a $75 fine payable to the Maplewood Gardens Enforcement Division. Then, last Tuesday, I caught her crouched in front of my car, tape measure in hand like a forensic investigator. "She snapped photos from every angle. What are you doing?" I asked. "Documenting evidence for the HOA board," she said flatly. And that's when she first mentioned the master key. Apparently, she claimed to have one that allowed her to access any vehicle in the neighborhood for enforcement purposes. And so, yesterday morning, the showdown finally arrived. Yellow safety vest, clipboard, determined scowl, there she was, marching toward my Civic like she had a warrant. She tried key after key, twisting and jiggling the driver's door, the trunk, even the gas cap. Nothing worked. Muttering about defective locks and non-compliant residents, she finally noticed me filming from the kitchen. Her eyes narrowed and she stormed to my door, pounding like she was collecting a debt. "I need a spare key now," she demanded. The HOA charter allows emergency access in situations like this. I calmly explained once again that no such clause existed. She escalated, threatening to tow my car and even hinting at eviction. I stayed calm, letting her fury build. Then came the 911 call. She told the dispatcher there was a dangerous parking situation, that I was hostile and refusing to cooperate with neighborhood officials. Within minutes, 2 patrol cars pulled into the driveway. Officer Thompson, tall with graying temples, approached Patricia. Officer Davis, more reserved, came over to speak with me. I showed Davis the footage on my phone. He watched silently, eyebrows slowly rising as he took in the absurdity. Meanwhile, Patricia launched her performance, waving the key ring like it was sacred, rattling off her enforcement authority. When asked for documentation, she claimed it was at home. That's when the neighbors began to speak up. Mrs. Johnson from across the street quietly told Officer Davis that Patricia had harassed her for years, once leaving a note about her garden gnomes violating yard decor standards. Mr. Williams, next door, recalled Patricia, trying to fine him $200 for washing his own car. Even old Mrs. Foster shuffled over, Walker squeaking, sharing how Patricia had threatened her for feeding stray cats. Each neighbor had a story, and the officers took meticulous notes. Officer Thompson returned to questioning the keys. Patricia insisted they were issued by the HOA board, but when pressed, she became defensive and loud, demanding to know why they weren't arresting me. Officer Davis calmly explained that my vehicle was fully within my property and that attempting to enter someone else's car without permission could be a serious offense. Patricia's face went pale, then red, then pale again. Thompson asked again where the keys had come from. She stammered, "From the HOA board," but couldn't provide proof. The truth came out. The master keys were actually locksmith tools from her late husband's workshop. Zero permission, zero authority, zero training. Officer Davis had heard enough. He informed Patricia that she was under arrest for criminal trespass, harassment, and filing a false police report. As he read her rights, she shrieked that it was all a misunderstanding, that she was just enforcing the rules. The officers stayed professional, cuffed her, and she ranted about lawsuits and the neighborhood falling apart without her. Several neighbors watched, arms crossed, shaking their heads. Mrs. Johnson whispered, "Maybe now we'll finally get some peace." Before leaving, Officer Thompson handed me a case number and explained the charges. Patricia could face up to $5,000 in fines just for the false report, not to mention the trespass, harassment charges, or potential jail time. Later that day, I got a call from David Park, the HOA board treasurer. He sounded exhausted and apologetic, explaining the board had been completely unaware of Patricia's self-appointed enforcement. They held an emergency meeting immediately. The very next day, Patricia was unanimously removed and banned from serving on the board again. The real kicker came at her court hearing a week later. The prosecutor revealed that the master keys were nothing more than locksmith tools she had no legal right to use. She'd been pretending to have authority she never possessed. The judge sentenced her to 2 years probation, community service, and $8,000 in restitution to affected neighbors. Now Maplewood Gardens is quieter. The flowers bloom, the birds sing, and parking dramas. Let's just say the next person who complains better show up with more than a fake citation and a set of stolen keys if you've ever dealt with a power-hungry HOA or a neighbor who thinks the rules only apply to everyone else. Make sure to subscribe for more stories where common sense and justice win. And if you believe a person should be able to park in their own driveway without a neighborhood meltdown, give this video a like.